Mutual combat, in the state of Washington, from a criminal defense attorney's perspective, what's the state of the law on mutual combat? Can you, both of you, voluntarily agree and consent to an assault? And the first answer on that one is, it is super gray, the answer, and it can depend on the jurisdiction. There are some municipalities, we had some interesting discussions about this. Tukwila has a RCW that says you can't engage in mutual combat. So, but the classic was always Seattle Police Department and their video.
The thing about mutual combat is I like to have people think about a hockey match or a boxing match, something like that, where people are going out there and they know they're going to be engaged in some sort of altercation. This isn't just about let's put the puck in the net or let's throw the ball through the hoop. It's about we're going to go out there, the puck, we score a goal, it's great, but what you're really doing is you're out there for a battle to see who can win the battle and can you win it effectively. And the problem you have with mutual combat is if one party thinks you're out there to have a great time and you're going to rock and roll, the other party maybe be like, dude, what are you doing? I came out here to play the game. I didn't come out here to get my ass kicked.
And so it becomes interesting on, even in the sports setting, can you consent to an assault, or how far can you go with that before someone's going to potentially hit you with a criminal charge?
Exactly, and that's the problem, is that, is a couple of punches to the face okay? Is a punch to the gut okay? Is all of that okay, or is none of that okay?
Well, and some things that I think the law is honed in on is it are you doing it within a realm of a lawful event? The classic counter argument to mutual combat was gang initiation beat-ins. Right. I mean, you are technically consenting to an assault, and so it's okay. And the law does not want to authorize beat-ins for gangs. So then they started saying, oh well, it's okay in sporting events, lawful sporting events. And then they started saying, well.
Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Because if you hit somebody too hard and you kill them, well, now did they consent to be killed? And that's where the problem is. So this is an area that's really, really gray. And if you believe you've got a mutual combat situation, we can always look at the police reports, see what the other individual has to say, and talk about it. But I can tell you, if you're saying this was agreed to and the other party's saying, I didn't agree to anything, you're going to have a hard time establishing it.
The other issue, there was a SPD video that was on where a guy was dressed up as a superhero and he was running around and engaging in fights. And the funny thing was the Seattle Police Department officer standing aside letting this happen while these guys engaged in mutual combat. And the first thing that comes to mind is, if you're going to engage in mutual combat, make sure you don't break anything around, any pieces of property around you. The minute that a window gets broken, the minute a park bench gets broken, anything like that, you've just gone from an arguably consentable situation into a not. And then I think the other critical component of mutual combat is to realize that that's only a defense in the criminal arena.
Right, you're not going to get that in civil.
No, and what civil says is, even if you have a mutual consent combat situation, civilly, you're going to be responsible to the damage you did to the other person.
Exactly.
So you're going to pay their medical bills, even though you guys.
You may not go to jail for it. You may not go to jail for it, but you're going to pay for their medicals.
Yeah.
So if you're in a situation where you think you've got a mutual combat perspective, call us.
Yeah, you better talk to a lawyer.
Definitely.
Thank you.